Oh, and we are live. Back once again behind the tool belt. You can't find it?
No.
I can't find it either. Oh, it's all good. Are we live? No?
We're live.
Oh, okay. Vic's over there sleeping again at the wheel. But yeah, episode 207 of Behind the Tool Belt. And I'm Ty, I'm your host, and I got my friend David Bruno who's co-hosting with me tonight. Stay tuned.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
TC Backer.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 207 of Behind the Tool Belt. My name is Ty, and I am your co-host this evening, along with
David Bruno. Thanks, Ty. I certainly appreciate it. Always good to see you guys. And again, we were talking about evolution a little bit here, and this is my first time in this new setup. This is great. So now I've got to see you in the warehouse for the live episode was that 200, right?
Yeah.
And then at your other facility over there at the old offices, and now here in this new office. This is great. This is an awesome setup, and kudos to Vic there for getting everything set up here this way. This is awesome. And Austin,
thanks
glad
so much
for you there, man. Looking forward to talking to you.
Dude, I'll tell you what, I've been really looking forward to this. Everybody's going out right now, but this is right where I want to be with you guys. You guys are inspiration. Ty, I've been looking up to you ever since I've gotten in the industry, and you're just somebody that I aspire to be. So I'm excited to get into this.
Thank you so much, and same to you, man. I mean, it's I remember the first time I met you was SRC, somewhere in Texas a couple years ago. You did a breakout, and you were talking about TikTok and how to reach people on TikTok and marketing and personal brand on TikTok. And Glenn was with me, and we were so intrigued on how you were able to capture and cultivate such a following on TikTok and so any social media platform, really, that we were inspired to try to follow in your footsteps as well. And even the cooler thing about that is that you're a roofing company owner, at that too. So you're not just someone out there trying to I don't know, hitting off the dopamine hits. I mean, you're actually using it, to benefit, yourself, other people's lives, and have an impact. And you're using your huge footprint to do that. And that's pretty cool, Austin. And thank you for being you, man.
No, thank you. And you know what? I was getting a little bit nervous before coming on this, and I think that's just what anybody feels. But if you speak from the heart, what can you be worried about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man. No, absolutely, man. And it's great. It's been great to see you out and about too. We got to spend some time at Door to Door Con last year. Quite a bit of time. You're a good friend of Chris Hofstra, who's a good friend of mine. And I think he's the one that really connected us,
yeah,
and through social media. We were actually having this conversation um, right before we came on here tonight. David came down and we were talking about, because David's forte is marketing. That's why I thought he'd be a good fit tonight.
sure.
Marketing, branding, personal, professional brand, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
David does a great job of stepping outside his comfort zone and coming on podcast and hitting the live button, hitting the record button. And, it takes some nerve to be able to do this.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the things I was going to ask you, Austin, is, as I can take a look at your page today and some of the things that you've been doing, are you an introvert by nature that's just kind of stepped yourself out there and started just putting yourself in front of people and having those conversations? And
Well, really the story behind all of this is my dad's product. So when I was 11 years old, my dad passed away, but he left me with this patented product. So what it is, it's a snow retention coating. So it's a waterproof coating followed by a matrix of special abrasive aggregate granules. Now, I can remember being, 10 years old, and I would go over to my dad's, and we'd be watching the Packer game together, and he would have a sample set up against the glass, and he had a piece of ice on it. We'd be just watching it melt. My dad loved the Packers, and he loved snow grip, and he loved golf. So really, that's what we did. We watched Packer games, and we played golf, and we watched the snow grip just grip and drip, right? So, he was phenomenal. He was my best friend. And, after he passed away, it was like, how am I going to keep him close to me? And this product is one of those things that every time I'm making a video, I might be nervous, or I might, not want to be, doing it at that time of the day. But I know that if I spend the time to make that video, I'm going to get one step closer to finding the right person to get this product out there. And what actually happened was, I went and got my marketing degree, and then I started a roofing company. But I realized, hey, this product really isn't getting out there. I didn't really learn enough in marketing school to bring this product to market. Found out about the roofing industry. I'm like, hey, I might as well go and do some door-to-door sales and make some money. So I did that. And, I felt like I needed to make a bigger impact some way, shape, or form. So I went back to my hometown, started my own roofing company with two guys. One guy is kind of a silent partner. He holds the license. And then my other partner is the production manager. But things were going great for the roofing company. And I'm starting to think, like, I think everybody, any good product or good company, they get to a spot where they almost want to give up. And that was exactly where I was at. I had the snow grip install on these storage units, and I was doing it with my best friend, and we were just cracking jokes. I'm like, hey, this is probably going to be the last time I do snow grip. This is a pain in the butt, but, lucky I like you, Dad. I'm dealing in the sun and the stuff's dripping, and I'm just like, it's one of my first applications. So I'm figuring everything out. And I'm like, David, what if I post a video of the snow grip application on that TikTok app that all these girls are dancing on, or, and I'm just like, coming from Northern Michigan, everybody hates on TikTok. Like, that's just how it was. But I'm like, what do I have to lose? So I decided to post a video of the application, and overnight it got like 1.8 million views. And I was just like, Dad, is that you up there controlling the TikTok algorithm? And that inspired me. And I just got to thinking, I'm like, hey, like, this product led me to getting the marketing degree, led me to starting the successful roofing company. I'm like, what more do I need to show these people for people to trust me and to take my product on and sell it? I'm like, well, I guess I'll get a couple 100,000 followers on social media, and then maybe they'll start to pay attention to me. So, the drive to get the following was to get the product out there. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have been able to do this if I was chasing a dopamine hit. Like, I could care less. But with this product, it's just, I'm so passionate about it. I feel closer to him when I'm making these videos. And I'll tell you what, it's an unusual product. It gets attention. I think that every roofing company should be applying it because it's the safest solution for snow country, but it's also going to help your social media because it's such an unusual product. So this is kind of like cracking the code when it comes to the algorithms, is using a product like this. So that's a little bit of a background of how things kind of got started for me.
That's good stuff. And it's like what we talk about here, when you have something that you're passionate about and you've got that personal connection to it and you have fun doing it at the same time, that's when everything kind of comes together. It doesn't really feel as much like obviously it's working and there are challenges, but it doesn't really feel as much like work when you're really enjoying it. You've got that personal connection to what it is that you're doing. And it sounds like you definitely got that going.
No,
Yeah.
and then, my viewers were able to see like that authenticity and like the story. And the thing is that I want to motivate other individuals that are trying to start a roofing company or bring a product to market, that it is possible and you got to keep going. And what's funny is it looks like a silly product, the videos that I do, and a lot of roofers are like, man, it looks like you're doing everything wrong. I'm not going to install this product, but I like basically have a coffee cup and I'm pouring it down the panel. And then I was talking to a roofer yesterday here at Roofing Process, and I'm like, actually, my application is 1.7 ounces per square foot. So that cup was how many ounces? And I knew that the panel was this long. So it was actually calculated. So I got the right mill thickness. So there's a lot, like I put a lot of thought into it. It might not look the right way, but it worked and it's still holding snow today. And, that's the thing, is how can I show that to people to motivate them to say it is possible, chase your dreams. Hey, this might look like a stupid product to the world. It looks like a stupid product. They don't understand snow retention. But I think that's why so many people wanted to follow me, because they're like, what's this crazy product? If this guy can bring this product to market, I feel like they'll see that and it'll motivate them to bring their company to the market. Right. So that's really what I think it's all about, is trying to empower people to do bigger things and to believe in themselves.
I love that. I do. I love that. And I love your story too, Austin, on, right away, you felt as if it was kind of like an act of providence when you got that 1.8 mil views on that, what you thought was a silly, reel or video, that video that you did, I'm inspired by that story because, to kind of find your purpose. And like you said about the impact, and I love how you talked about the impact and how you want to inspire other people to, post videos or bring their product to the market and stuff like that. It's like, that's what we're here for. We're here to inspire. We're here to serve. And that product that you're talking about, that was you said that was your dad or your grandfather's product?
Yeah,
Was
it
your,
was my dad's.
yeah,
Yeah.
your dad's. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying it was your grandfather's, but you said it was your dad's product, and how you felt like that's his legacy, right? And when people pass, at times, I think some of us tend to fall into like this funk and don't know what to do, and we become introverted and all of these things. Just depression sets in, right? And we just don't know what to do. We don't know where to turn. We just lost our best friend. All of these things, but the point that I'm getting to is how you decided to pick the torch up, right? And in his name and his honor, and to continue to have him live on, you went out, you posted this silly, what you thought at the time, video that inspired so many people to like, love, comment, share, and like you saw that, like, oh, Dad, was that you up there? And how proud of him, how proud he was of you to pick the torch up and promote this product. It to me is what that's really all about. It's like, if your dog dies, go and rescue a dog out of the pound. Treat that dog with the most respect and give it the best life that it is ever given. And like when a human being dies that's real close to us in our life, that's how we need to take a look at that. Yes, it sucks. They're no longer with us, but what would they have us do? Right. Or what can we do to make sure that their legacy continues to live on? And you chose to pick the torch up and run with it. We talk about this quite often.
And like one of the things is, when I was growing up, I mean, I had a learning disability. especially with my dad passing at 11 years old. It was almost like I could care less for school. You know, I was the type of guy that was like, if I can slide by, if I can cheat off somebody and not have to study, I'm just going to get by, because it was kind of like from 11 to 16, it was like, that was a tough age. My mom was like, I don't know if you're going to get into drugs or what's wrong with you. Your vibe completely changed. So, you know, that's something where, like that it was tough, you know, after he died. And when I found like that passion for his product, and I'm like, I'm really going to run with this, it was like doors were opening left and right. When I went to college, a lot of my friends struggled with getting through their classes. Me, with my learning disability, I knew I needed to get out of college so I could get this product out there. So I did whatever it took to educate myself, to pass these classes. And, you know, honestly, I really am proud of myself for getting out of college in 4 years, because honestly, when I first started it, I'm like, this is going to be so hard. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And really, I had to make the most of it. I had a lot of pressure from like my mom and the rest of my family. Like, there was 2 other people that went to Ferris State University in my family and dropped out. So I'm like, hey, the pressure's on. I need to get through college, because really I want to just promote my product. And if I need to prove it to my family and show that like I can do this, that's what I'm going to do. But it was my motivator. It kept me up late in the library studying, because I just had such a passion for getting this thing off of the ground. And it was like every single one of my marketing projects, I would beg the teachers to say, hey, let me do it on Snow Grip, like international marketing class. Hey, can I please do it on Snow Grip? So then I was teaching, you know, the football players about Snow Grip, and then we were presenting it. And it was super cool that I had awesome professors that gave me the chance and let me do that, because it was just, you know, nobody starts off perfect. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of these new influencers, like, I think that everybody wants to be an influencer now, right? And everybody wants to get paid the big bucks. Everybody thinks that they're worth, you know, all this money just coming right out of college, like, you know, and it's like, you got to put in the work. And so I'm like, hey, let's just build this and just keep building. And, you know, actions speak louder than words. Let me just put this out there. And it just led to all these different things, you know. I wouldn't have gotten to start in my roofing company if it wasn't for me having the passion for the product. And it's like one thing led to the other. And now, after getting the hundreds of thousands of followers, like brands like Certainteed and the Catch-All and the Equipter are coming to me wanting to work with me. And that's seriously life-changing. Like I was telling you before, I'm truly like humbled, because seems like everywhere I'm stepping, it's like an opportunity. And I'm just like, why was I chosen? Why am I in here? Why am I getting, like, I don't know if it's the luck, but it's like, why me? Right. And people are trying to tell me like, man, you're a good person. You truly care. You totally deserve this. You've been working so hard on this. But it's so easy to like have that voice in your head saying negative thoughts, right? It's like, oh, you know, you're not worthy, or, you know, like, you're not going to get this product going. And then there's other people that I hear talking about me in the background saying, you know, like, you know, he's not going to be able to get this off of the ground. That's a stupid product. He hasn't made much sales with that. And then when I have to go and be honest with people, when they ask me, you know, what are the sales for Snow Grip? What are the sales for your roofing company? You know, how much are you making for, you know, social media stuff? Like, I'm completely transparent. And it's like, hey, like, I'm not a pro. Like, I don't have a $10 million roofing company. But I do know how to take somebody from maybe after college and get them to the next step, to where that they can keep going. And I can connect them with people like you, Ty, where it's like, hey, now it's another resource. So now I've been able to get this group of people that I can just rely on. And when I'm going down to these shows, it's like I have that 5-10 people that are like family now, honestly, that really support me. And I even have some different people that want to work with me now from these shows, saying like, there's nobody more that I would want to work with. And now I'm trying to figure out how I can get these brand deals to basically pay to build a business. And that's something that like I respect so much from you, Ty, because it's like a big gamble, and it's a lot to start a business and actually to start hiring people. And it's like, how am I going to make, you know, payroll? But then you're like, I've always made it happen. You know, I always pass those classes in college. Like I'll find a way to get the money to pay these people. I just need to put my foot in the water and start somewhere. So that's been something recently where I know I need to build a team to be able to scale this and to be able to really support my mission of making the world a safer place. I can't do it alone.
Well, here's a question for you, Austin. I mean, as you were talking and you continue to delve into your story a little bit, how you got started in this, and you know how you've kind of taken your father's concept and the product. What are some of the key things that you've done to really transform this thing and make it your own? I mean, you're taking the social media aspect to another level here, and you know, Ty and I have talked about this a number of times, and I hear, you know, during the course of a number of these episodes and these with the different guests that, you know, social media and marketing is not an exact science. I mean, there are so many things. It's just a matter of testing the waters and trying to see some things and see what works and what people latch onto and what they're responding to. And just because they don't necessarily respond does not mean that they don't take notice to those things that you're doing, for sure. Just because there's not always a like or a share doesn't mean that they're not in their mind, you know, paying attention. So
you know, and the
just
thing
your
is,
thought.
you go through 4 years of college, and I can remember like 3 things that really helped me with the social media. And one of the first things that Dr. D told me, he was my international marketing teacher. He said, anything that you do in the short run that doesn't benefit you in the long run is an addiction. And that hit hard with me. I'm like, everybody's on social media. They're wasting all of this time. It's not going to do anything for them in the future. How can I get on social media and actually, you know, grow something and benefit me in the future? So that's when I instantly switched over all my social media to either Snow Grip or some type of personal brand, to where I could, you know, show who I am, so I could get, you know, my foot in the door and work for a corporation or start my own business and sell deals and show that transparency and show who I am. So that was the first thing. So when I switched over to all the different, you know, business stuff, so I'm not addicted and looking for that dopamine hit, wasting my life. Then I went over and it was a communications teacher, and he talked about basically how journalists make news. And it was really interesting because if you look at like how journalists, like for the New York Times, you'll see all these headlines, right? And it's using significance, prominence, unusualness, big numbers, storytelling. So I knew that if I used the right hooks, told the right story, had the right significance, the unusualness. So that's where, you know, you have the Snow Grip video, and it's an unusual product. You're pouring this stuff out of a cup onto a roof. And then you have significance where you're just like, hey, you don't want the snow to slide off of your roof. Now people are saying, oh, it's going to cave in your roof. So I figured out that combining the unusualness with the significance, and then later on, when I started working with Equipter, started using some prominence, where it was like, how am I going to market this Equipter? Well, who bought the Equipter? I remember that the owner told me that Elon Musk bought 20 of them. So that was my caption. Elon Musk bought 20 of these. And everybody knows Elon Musk. They're like, no, he didn't. Yeah, right. Show me, prove it. And it was great attention grabber to use that prominent figure. So what I tell roofing contractors or anybody that's trying to build their personal brand, they need to act like a journalist, because they're not going to be able to get any attention if they don't.
That's really good stuff. I had like 15 questions, but I forgot every single one of them because I was so in tune with what you were saying. But that was really good stuff. And it's like the early part of what you started to say there was, you know, when you're starting out in business, I was sitting there, I was reflecting a little bit about like how I had to deviate a little bit when we first started out, and very little people know this. We actually started out in siding, just siding. So I was a siding contractor. I'd worked for a siding contractor, and predominantly we did siding. I knew roof, I knew roofs, I knew gutters, I knew windows. I mean, you can't really be in an exterior facet like siding and not know roofing and stuff like that. So when I had went out on my own, I started out doing siding for like the first few months. It was, you know, but I realized like I needed to pivot a little bit over into some other facets of the exterior construction atmosphere, because if I was going to make it, I needed to diversify a little bit.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I had mastered all of those things. I was a good roofer. I was a great mechanic on the roof. I could wrap windows. I was really good on a brake. I could bend anything on the aluminum brake. And so I learned early on that I needed to diversify if I wanted to keep that pipeline full, because I had mouths to feed, not just my own, but I had other people that went with me when I
Yeah.
went out on my own. Okay. So one of the biggest things, and you touched on it there for a minute, was the consistency of showing up every single day, even when I thought I was failing. Right.
Mhm.
But I kept showing up. I kept showing up and I kept showing up. Well, next thing I knew, people started to notice that. They
Yeah.
started to notice the quality of work that we did.
Mhm.
And I guess I doubted myself, because like the roofing industry isn't the most glamorous, especially we're talking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There was definitely a different atmosphere out there. Very little of us had driver's licenses, and
Mhm.
that's all I'll say about that. But we were a rough crowd of people, right? This is where like we couldn't go anywhere else but roofing at that in those days. Now things have evolved into much more professional and professionalism when it comes to roofing today, and or being an exterior contractor. But the biggest thing was that consistency and not quitting 5 minutes before the miracle happened. And I hear so many people talk about, I just don't think I can handle it anymore. I just don't think. Well, some of that's because you're focusing your time and your energy in the wrong places,
Mhm.
right? And you're not staying consistent enough in the places that you should. And that's something that you got to figure out very early on. Okay, like, so what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, right?
Mhm.
Like, so if I'm not very good at accounting, then why am I wasting another 6 hours at night after I just worked 12 hours a day doing my books? If I'm
Yeah.
not very good at it, when my forte is, sales, estimating, costing out a job, building out a job, scheduling the jobs. That's a whole forte, learning how to schedule jobs and figure out how long a job's going to take, so then I can schedule the next job. Like, there's an art to that too. You know what I mean? So I had all of these strengths, and I'm not saying that I don't know how to read a tape measure or that I don't know how to use a calculator, but it was like, here I'm working 18 hours a day. Right. And that's where people start to get burnt out. And I'm not saying that in the beginning you don't have to work 18 hours a day. And I think that's where a lot of people, this whole mentality and the generation of work smarter, not harder. Yes, but no. Right. Because you got to put in the work. You got to put in the time, especially early on, before you can even attract good help. Because if you're not leading by example,
Yeah.
you're both personally and professionally, you're not going to attract good people. No one's going to want to come work for you if you're cutting corners, if you're doing shoddy work, if you're not paying your bills. All of those things that people don't necessarily, that you think they don't see, along with the integral part of it, where the things that people don't see, right?
Yeah.
And good things just start to happen. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes 6 years, but I'll be honest with you, it's taken me 15 years for overnight success.
Yep.
This has
No.
been, I'm in the greatest season of my life right now. It's taken
So
me 15 years to get here.
yeah, one of the things I was telling one of the contractors, I'm like, I am so close with snow grip. I'm 98% there, but this
Mm,
2% is going to be the most critical.
mhm.
I got all the way here, but how am I going to put the cherry on top and get this done and actually build a business? Like, I have all the people that are supporting me, the contractors that want to buy it, the manufacturers that want to get involved, do different, private label or possibly licensing agreements. Now, how am I going to finish it off? And how am I going to grow a team to be able to get it out there, and be able to do those things that I especially with the social media, like I tell people all the time that they really shouldn't try to focus on the social media, especially if they have a roofing company, because it's not something that's necessarily going to bring in the leads right away. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to go post on Instagram and post on Facebook," and you see them, "Oh, free roof inspection or this or that," and nobody engages with it. I doubt that they really get anything unless there was a recent hailstorm in their community. Um, So it's like, why go on there and waste all this time when you should be in other functions of the business, like writing estimates or following up or doing your accounting? And that's one of the things that I've had to learn the hard way, where when I get so wrapped up with the social media, and now I get these brand deals, and now I have this pressure of making these videos for these companies, it takes me away from the roofing company. It takes me away from the snow grip. And I'm like, how am I going to just focus all my time on something that is really my clear, vision, like of what I want to do? And that's been super challenging to be able to balance that, especially when you have all these awesome opportunities that are life-changing, like every single one of these, the roofing company, working with these awesome companies, and the snow grip. It's hard to say no, because it's like, I never expected I would be here 2 years ago. I really didn't. I mean, I told that to Certainty. I'm like, guys, like, I started as somebody that was disrupting the industry, trying to get free marketing. I didn't have a budget, and I wasn't expecting you guys to call me. And as soon as they did call me, I'm like, I'm cleaning up my act. Everything that happened before, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, what are we going to move and do in the future? So that's when I went back and I deleted probably 50 of my videos, because it was either, minor fall protection things, just didn't look safe. And I started to think, like, how am I influencing people? Like, now that I have this following, is it okay to do this on a roof? Is it okay to show that, to say that that's okay? And it started to really kind of like eat away at me. Like, I don't want to influence people the wrong way and say this is okay. And so the thing is that my views have went down, but I'm representing the industry better, and I'm finding ways to like empower people. And especially with like when I give away boots and stuff like that for the crews, like a lot of people might view that as, oh, Austin just went down to the store, picked up some boots, and he's looking for the dopamine hit. He just wants to get views on his videos. But honestly, I don't post a video unless it's sponsored by a company. And that's where I say, like, hey, I'd go buy boots for the crew, and I want to do that out in the kindness of my heart. But now that I have this social media following, why can't I just send Red Wing Boots or Wolverine a message saying, hey, I have this idea of giving away boots to my crew. Would you fund it? And I'd make a video about it. If they say yes and they send the boots, then I can do that. But that's me. That's where I'm saying, like, I need to get these companies on board to want to make a bigger impact to the people that are installing the shingles. Those are the ones that, if it wasn't for the installers, we wouldn't be where we're at. The manufacturers and everybody wouldn't be able to, go on these vacations. And so you hear these stories and you see what these guys go through. And it's like, how can I be somebody that motivates other roofing companies to do better for their crew? Like, I go to roofing companies and I'm doing videos with them. The crew isn't smiling, and I'm just like, why isn't the crew smiling when I come to the job site? As soon as I come with the boots and I'm dressed up as Santa Claus, completely change the vibe, right? And I break the ice and I show it, like, we all put our pants on the same way, and I just think that, especially with branding and like showing transparency, sometimes I don't really want to have to come up with these ideas for these companies either. Like, I want them to come up with the ideas, and then I kind of better it and facilitate it and say, like, hey, here's the raw footage you sent me, but I'm going to give you this recommendation, this recommendation, this recommendation to help it reach a better audience, a bigger audience, to, spread your message because you truly care. And it's a balance, right? Like, and then when I'm trying to like prove to these companies, like, hey, like, this is going to work, like, you should spend money on this. And I don't want to have to go out of my way to post the video to have to prove it to them. Like, they should be able to see that.
When you mentioned about the branding and the marketing and the social media, and that it doesn't get, you don't see everything. I think people tend to think that there needs to be a direct correlation or a direct ROI to every piece of to everything that you're doing. And the social media, to your point, yeah, that's not the direct lead generator. I mean, there are a lot of things that I see, especially around this time of year, when things pop through my feed. I'm not sharing them. They're not things that I'm going to be clicking the like button or sharing with my, with people in my network, but I'm certainly buying things from them, especially over the holidays, because there are things that I find interesting. But I'm just not going to clog my own feed and my own page with all those sort of things. But it definitely does not mean that I'm not paying attention to it, that I don't recognize it, and it's not that I'm not in that funnel with those businesses, because I definitely certainly am. And this, like to Ty here, I mean, I've got this shirt. I wear this shirt, this sweatshirt all the time. The Thanksgiving Eve, the 21 turkey salute. I wear this all over the place. Ty has flooded, the York County area with these shirts and this brand. And there's probably no direct correlation or a direct ROI to those things.
Mhm.
It's not like, okay, well, I paid X amount per shirt and I've gotten X amount back. That's not the way that plays
these companies will go and spend whatever, 10, 15, $20,000 going to a trade show. And are they calculating their ROI on that? What is that leading to in the future? And it's fun because I get to have these conversations with these companies when I'm trying to close them. And it's like, hey, what about a TV commercial? Do you see the direct ROI on that? Or are you trying to grow your brand? Where do you want to be in 10 years? If you don't do this today, and if you don't do this for the next 10 years, then are you going to be at $100 million roofing company, or are you going to be back at 40? And then are the people inside your organization even going to want to be there? Are you going to be able to hire new people when the other company is showing that transparency and giving away turkeys, for Thanksgiving? I mean, those are the things that really you don't realize how important they are until you get that one deal or you get that sales rep, and you wouldn't have got it without that. And so it's like giving is receiving. You give and it'll come back to you. You do the right things, and not every function of the business you're going to make an ROI on. It's like, sorry, but there's sales and marketing you put the money in, and the salesperson has to sell the deal. So I'm doing the marketing. What are you going to do with the video? How are you going to sell it? Do you have the right retargeting, stuff like that to capitalize on this opportunity? And most of the time they don't. A lot of these companies are startups, they got funding and they say, hey, make some videos. We need it to go viral and we want to get 1,000 sales. I'm like, what, do you think I got a crystal ball here and I can just, do that for you? And that's the thing, as an influencer, you have to be transparent. You need to tell these companies that that's not how it works. Like, either you do it with me or you don't. If you don't, then you're not going to get any views. If you do, it can lead to some opportunity, but I can't tell you what it's going to do.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because a lot of people think it's black and white. If you spend XYZ on this area, that you're going to get an ROI on this area here. And I mean, the best way to look at it, there's two ways you can look at it. Like, set a budget. Simply just set a marketing budget for basically maybe off of past sales, or spend set a budget for what you want to project what your revenue sales are going to be, right? So like, and that's a 5 to 10%. And if you're a $1 million company and you want to spend 10% of that, that's $100,000. And how you spend that or disperse that, you should see, and if you have some guidance or some mentoring when it comes to that kind of thing, you should get an ROI on that. Now, some of those things you can measure that data. Some of that stuff you can't measure. But what I think we're really talking about here is the difference between marketing and branding, because there's a lot of marketing strategies that you can do that you'll be able to get an ROI on. You'll be able to read what your ROI is. Now, the difference between branding and marketing is branding, you can't measure what your ROI is all the time. I can't tell you, how many phone calls came in because of the billboard out on Route 30. I can't tell you how many phone calls came in because of our Facebook ads. Now, if they click on it, right, and it funnels through that channel, yes, we can count them as many times as they go that route. But what we're trying to cultivate, or what we're trying to captivate, is the more touch points than anyone else, right? Because if they don't know who you are, and we've had this conversation a million times, David, and Vic's probably tired of me talking about it, because if I talk to you about this a million times, Vic's heard it 2 million times. Okay. But this is the thing. He who gets the most touch points wins. And however you spend your money to get that, and the phone rings, who really gives a shit at the end of the day? Now, you should, there's art to it. We talk about the art, and there is some science to it, right? You do have to follow the trends, right? And let's just say, I'm going to use this, right, as an example. in the winter months, we tend to pull back some of our billboards. Why? Less people are on the road. We tend to spend more money on SEOs and Facebook ads. Why? Because people are sitting on their couch because it's cold outside and they tend to scroll Facebook more. Come spring, we peel back on some of the Facebook ads and throw more billboards out there, more yard signs, more things like that, for because there's more people out traveling and doing things and moving around. They come out of hibernation. So that's what I mean by, like, I don't know if that's art or if that's science to it, or just, using your, a combination of both, of just using your head, that there's going to be less people on the road because they're freezing their ass off and they're going from point A to point B and they're not spacing out the window looking at your billboard.
Yep.
Like, for instance, if you were to do a workshop, or you were to do something like that, I would probably suggest that there should be none of the people who are involved in that should leave without having one of your shirts or a sweatshirt or something like that. And like, again, do you get a direct response from that? Does that direct ROI? I mean, you could say, okay, well, I paid X amount for the shirts, but it's just a matter of, hey, those people who were in the workshop, they know what they're going to wear that. They're going to be proud of that, because that's some sort of, I guess, a learning or a certification to them of some kind.
Yeah.
So why not?
Well, really, when I started the roofing company, I was thinking about branding and marketing, and the budget was very, very slim. I mean, it's the first year. I mean, you don't have any money to start with, right? So thank God I had some good SEO, and I live in a small town to where we could get some leads organically without paying for them. But it came down to, how am I going to build my brand without having to pay to build my brand? I'm like, okay, well, I started asking people, right? Like, how do I do it? So one of the people I asked was actually Jen Silver. And I said, how am I going to grow my brand? And she gave me this awesome idea. She says, why don't you team up? Well, actually, I was telling her I'm working with these schools. I'm like, how can I capitalize off doing these school roof replacements to build my brand? And she's like, why don't you team up with BHK and give 5% back to the school for, building a playground, or, doing something like letting kids ski for the winter time or something like that. I'm like, wow, that's such a great idea. So I kept that in the back of my mind, and things kind of went on. I did another school roof for them, and then I was finally able to present that to them, and they loved that idea. On top of that, they also had a school where the ice was coming off of the roof, and I had some leftover product, and I said, hey, I can go up there and install it myself. It was fun because actually the maintenance manager was up on the roof with me. He cares. He wants to make sure the kids are safe. And it feels so good to make your community safer and to see a problem and just fix it and just take it into your own hands. And that's what I think roofing companies aren't doing enough of, where they don't need to be on social media doing all this crazy stuff. And the thing is they say, hey, Austin, can you teach me how to do it, or to make these videos? And a couple months ago, I'm like, sure, I'll teach you how to do it. It's going to be $1,000. And then the roofing company says, oh, that's out of the budget. I'm like, then you shouldn't even be thinking about this right now. Like, go out in your community and start doing some bigger things, and don't worry about social media. Work on your SEO, work on your Facebook ads, the things that you're going to get a return on, and then maybe put branding on the side a little bit, or do what you can, but don't put all your eggs in one basket here and think that, you can go organic on social media and drive all your business for free, because that's not going to happen. But if you do those things for your community and make a bigger impact, when you do get that lead, now you tell the story when you go and sell that deal, where you say, hey, I'm connected with BHK. Did your kids go through BHK? And if they did, then I'm going to give 5% back to the school to do something bigger. Now, just having that in your pitch, even doing like free repairs. So I wanted to do something with Certainty where it's like, hey, we're giving back to the community. We're going to do free repairs. So the idea of that video would be, you go and you see a roof with missing shingles in a lower income community. Maybe you've seen that old lady shoveling snow years past, where that somebody that could really use your services. You go and ask her, hey, why haven't you done anything with your roof yet? Oh, I just don't have the money. Oh, I can't find a roofer. Well, You know, here at Crown Roofing, we teamed up with Certainty to give back to the community. We're going to go up there and we're going to fix the roof for absolutely no charge. And we're going to say, have a nice day. What I realized after that is that was out of the kindness of my heart. Like, that was something where I'm just like, I want to do this. I want to make a bigger impact. Well, what if you go up there and there's a bunch of storm damage and missing shingles everywhere, where the repair is actually going to be worse for the homeowner when they have insurance? So now you get off the roof and you're like, homeowner, sorry to say, but I want to do this repair for you, but your insurance company will pay for this. And that's something where when I teach like people how to sell and market, I don't want people to use that in the wrong way. Like, I don't want to just teach something like that to the wrong person, because they'll go out and use that and say, like, I'm going to do a free repair, knowing that they're going to go after the insurance. So I think you got to be like, I want to be selective with who I teach this stuff to, because I don't want somebody to be looking for the dopamine hit that's not trying to better the industry and the people around them, and it's all about them.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. And one thing that you touched on briefly there in the beginning, that you know, how the maintenance guy got up on the roof, and you going out there with some extra product that you had. But the most important for me, anyhow, again, reflecting back on my early days, was the relationships that I built early on, that with those people that I still do business with today, all these years later, plus the network of people that I met through those people and those relationships that I built early on. And was one of the probably biggest things that I was able to do to put ourselves out there and get those referrals and build a network, because that had become our net worth. Still to this day, I mean, there's an investor, a local investor that we do work for, 15 years strong. But then not just that and that relationship, but all of his real estate friends have used us, you know, and still use us today. And those relationships blossomed into many more relationships, was one organic way. And really what it came down to is being fair, being transparent, and being trustworthy, and also importantly, doing a good job. And if there was an issue, because there's going to be hiccups, not hesitating by going out there and correcting what may have gone wrong, right? Because that's the lasting impression, because things are going to go wrong at some point in time. Something goofy is going to happen. It's usually somebody that you know, or someone that's close to you, a friend or a family member, is the one roof that's going to leak. Aunt Betty's roof, you know. But those are the things that early on in business, it's like, you need to seek relationships. You need to go into real estate offices and say, hey, I'm David Bruno, you know, I'm with TC Backer Construction. These are the services that we provide. And maybe even at that point in time, maybe drop a name or two of some other people, or referrals. Like, hey, we have, you know, some references here from Keller Williams, that we also do, you know, free roof inspections, complimentary roof inspections at no cost. Because a lot of times you can't go after the home run. You can't go after the home run. All of these relationships and all of these, you know, these, I call them sometimes crumbs. You got to go through the crumbs, right? You got to do the repairs. You got to do the free roof certifications. You know what I mean? You got to give an extended warranty on something. Go up and do some roof repairs and give it extended warranties, because what happens is, if you're honest and you're transparent and people know that about you, if you're the one roofer out of the 5 roofers they had up there, and you're the one guy that says, no, this doesn't need replaced, that goes so far. I mean, I don't know how many times we've heard that scenario where homeowners will say, you know, we've had 2 other contractors out here telling us, you know, that we needed a new roof, and you're the first company to tell us that we didn't need a new roof. If you don't need a roof, we're not going to try to sell you a roof. We're not going to try to vandalize your roof so the insurance company pays for it. We're not going to do these things. And because if you're in it for the longevity of it, and you're in it for the long haul, those are the things that you can't get. I guess what happens, you get desperate, I guess, especially early on, you get desperate, and then there's desperate times. But you can't let that affect your judgment and do a shitty job or do shady stuff.
Yeah. And one thing I'd like to add on that is, sometimes, you have to make sure your organization like knows those relationships that you spent building
Mm,
for this company. And that was one thing that I had to learn the hard way, where
mhm,
the school said, "Hey, can you build a pavilion for us?" Oh
mhm,
yeah, we can build pavilions. I don't thought it was easy, right? Well, little did I know that we had to build a whole foundation and it wasn't level and this and that. And I had one sales guy trying to do it. He was busy project managing. He wasn't able to get it done. And then there's, garbage left behind. And then I bring in someone else to try to do it. He leaves material out and there's kids playing out in this playground. I'm like, guys, like let's use some common sense here. Like, this is a school. Like, this is a very important client of mine. Like, I need you to take this serious. And it was like it almost ruined the relationship with this school. And I
mhm.
was actually out in Utah doing a snow grip job, and the job was just going, like, everything was going wrong. I mean, there was like the logistics, the truck wasn't coming in with the material. We had a bunch of rain. And I ended up being there for an extra 2 weeks, but I was trying to virtually kind of manage this pavilion, this $4,500 pavilion that we're making, and it ended up being like the bottleneck of the business and the biggest problem of the year, because I had the property manager calling me saying, "Hey, like, the guys left stuff out." And then I'm calling my sales guys saying, "Hey, like, you need to go back there and pick this up." And things just weren't getting done unless I was there. Like, I was realizing, like, I needed to take things into my own hands. Like, this
Mhm.
relationship is getting burnt. And I knew as soon as I get back from Utah, it was, I was driving back. I got back maybe 11 o'clock at night. The next morning, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and driving up 2 hours north of me to Houghton, Michigan, basically in the middle of Lake Superior. And I'm there with a grinding wheel, smoothing the edges around the pavilion, making sure that everything is perfect, cleaned up, make sure that, like, the customer is happy. And for me to do that, that actually built the relationship, because
Mhm.
there was a problem, and my team was busy. I shouldn't have put that on my team. I didn't charge enough. They weren't incentivized enough. I ended up losing money on it, but it was so important for me to keep that relationship that I knew that I had to take things into my own hands. And that's something that I learned, where I need to be like having our why and our mission and why we're in business and our purpose and trying to serve the community and be there for these people. Everybody needs to know that, and they all need to be in a line. Because if
Mhm.
it's just me, it starts to, it was a really, it wasn't a good feeling, but I didn't set the expectations clear on this job. And there's nobody else to blame but myself. I'm not going to put the blame on anybody else, but it's little things like that you'll run into. And it's like, what can you do when you run into problems? How are you going to handle it? And that's part of running a roofing company, is it's constantly putting out fires.
Yeah, that no doubt. You're a fireman, most
Mhm,
definitely. Been there,
mhm.
did that for many, many, many years, man. But I can tell you this: great leadership attracts great leaders. Where you get everybody rowing in the same direction, where you're not the one that's on the job grinding out the corners to make sure that they're smooth. You will eventually, at some point in time, surround yourself around people that will nip that stuff in the bud before it gets to that point. But
Yes.
again, things will still happen. The longer you're in business, things tend to happen. I mean, we've had freak storms come through in the midst of tearing roofs off already. And I mean, we had to batten down the hatches. Did things get wet? Yeah, they got wet. We had to take it on the chin. We lost money.
Mhm.
It's going to happen when you have a lot of other people involved. You work outside in the elements. I mean, there's so many factors. Materials, the products show
Mhm.
up wrong. They don't show up at all.
Mhm.
I mean, it's going to happen, but it's how you respond to these situations when they happen is what change which is what makes the difference. And that's what I call the lasting impression that homeowner or that maintenance man or that school or that person, that's their lasting, not the last impression, but the lasting impression that they have of you, the integrity. Like, look, I will go over and beyond no matter what it takes. We'll tear the entire roof off this thing. and make sure that this thing goes down right.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, over the years, we've probably had to take off 2, maybe 3 roofs. One was because it was the wrong color. One was because our backs were turned and something went down and we discovered it. And the homeowner didn't even know that this went down. But Glenn made the command decision, like, hey, we're just going to take the roof off and put it down again. You know what I mean? But that's that lasting impression.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And those are the things that you have to do. You're going to lose money. There's no doubt about it. Before we even got profitable, we were 5 years into it before we could even say that we were actually even a profitable business. Not because of the mistakes that we made, but the amount of money that went back into the business to conduct business and to grow the business and to brand the business and to pay a good, healthy salary. So those people that were just as motivated as I was, I needed to do something to motivate them so they could feed their families. Right. And you got to make this not about you. This is about everyone else. This is those that you surround yourself with. That's what this is about. But more importantly, it's about the homeowner that you're protecting. Right. Because with roofing, we are protecting most people's largest, biggest financial investment that they will ever make in their life. And
Yep.
that's how important, that's how you got to look at it. And that's how every single individual on your team has to look at it. This could be your mom's house. This is somebody's mother's home. This is somebody's grandmother's home. Would you want somebody doing this to your grandmother's house? How would you want the end product to be on your grandmother's home?
Yeah, it's even when the guys get tired and they get lazy and the pressure is too much on the guns and like little things like that. And this year, actually, first couple of years, I was kind of the nice guy and I could tolerate a lot. But when things don't go right and you keep seeing them reoccurring, and like there was a couple times where I kind of blew up a little bit on the crew, but it was something where they needed to know that this is like an area where we get 200 inches of snow and we can't have these low nails where it's transitioned from the house to the porch, and you need to hand seal these because we need to do it right. I never want to come back out here again. And, and you start to get excuses from the crew, our roofs never leak and we got insurance. And it's like, hey, it's not about that. It's about the reputation of the brand and it's about doing it right. And sorry, I had to blow up on you guys, but this is super important to me that these roofs get done the best way possible. And it's so easy when you're running, a busy schedule where, I mean, what if a couple roofs were put on wrong or, it wasn't nailed properly or overdriven in certain areas? Like, I don't want to go home at night and think about that.
And to both of your points, I mean, when that's going to happen, it's about making it right. I mean, are you going to take a loss on that 1 or 2 jobs or a couple of jobs? Of course, right up front. But again, that's where we're talking about the return on that investment. I mean, you do right by those people. It's going to come back to you in terms of they're going to trust you. They're going to believe in you. They're going to say, hey, this business took care of me. It didn't start out that way, but the end result is they took care of me. They stood behind what they were doing, and it's going to pay back in referrals and just good business being done, and it's getting into that place of just being trusted, liked, and believed in what you're doing.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, what a great episode. Austin, it's always a pleasure. David Bruno, you're always been a pleasure to be on the show. But David, you got any last and final questions before we get off here?
Not necessarily. I think that Austin answered a couple of those from when we started. I just was really just curious about how you got into it, how you've kind of taken this thing on your own and kind of just shifted your approach to make it really yours and taking advantage of new technologies and things like that. I've seen are a big part of what you've done. So that's really good stuff. I think this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Austin, leave our guest here that are watching with some golden nugget that you've learned over the past several years that you would like to share with everybody.
I would just say giving is receiving. Like, I love that quote. I think everybody should wake up and start giving more and it'll fill their cup. Like, giving is what fills my cup and keeps me keep going. When you see that smile on somebody's face, what can you do to do more of it? Life is so fragile. I was just listening to a story of one of the roofers, like, sisters died yesterday. And, with my dad passing away, it's like, they're not going to want you to be sad, so it's like it's tough. You never know what could be happening in somebody's life. And just saying, even like, hey, Ty, you're doing an excellent job with your company. I don't think enough business owners get the good job, and it's like, for other business owners, I see it. Like, I see what you've done, and I know it takes a lot, takes grit, takes time, doesn't happen overnight. And just compliment people once in a while and bring the best out of them.
Amen. Amen. That's that, that's the silver bullet, man. If you have to give it away if you want to keep it. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people on this earth are trying to figure out what their purpose is. And it's real easy. And I'll sum it up with one word: serve.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to serve. We're here to serve each other. And if anyone ever wanted to know why their life might suck, it's probably because you may be a little too selfish.
Yep.
And you don't serve others. So
Yep.
anyhow, what a awesome episode 207. Next week we have Tim Brown. Tim Brown will be in the house. I think that'll be our Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Right before Christmas. Tim Brown is one of our sponsors. There you go, Hook Agency. It's funny. There was something that I could have shared about Tim. Tim sent me a screenshot of Ryan Holiday has an ad on Facebook when he was on Behind the TolBelt, and it's had over a ridiculous amount of viewers. Okay, so Tim took a screenshot of it, and right in the corner you can see Hook Agency. So the impact that your name being on something, we have no idea how many people will see it, and it's hard to measure sometimes the ROI. You just got to get out there. You just got to stay consistent. I guess to sum this episode up is have grit, stay consistent, and don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens, and make sure that you're serving others. So thank you guys for another wonderful episode of Behind the TolBelt. You guys make this possible. You guys motivate us to want to improve this every single week. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week for episode 208.
Yep. Thanks, Ty. Thanks, David. Talk soon.
You're welcome.